This is Hell Let Loose. We're on Xbox Series X taking a look at this multiplayer focused large scale experience and conflict. This is a World War shooter featuring 50v50 combat across a range of large scale massive maps. What we're getting here is a 4K resolution on Xbox Series X at 60 FPS. It is big, it has crossplay between console platforms, and it offers a variety of different ways to compete and fight with others across, like I mentioned, many different fronts, from open countrysides to more intense town-like structured locations, and you do so with a ton of walking. This game asks you to walk far, and it's kind of got a neat frontline system where you are kind of fighting back and forth in an almost tug-of-war type segment in order to take places. Some of the maps seem to change that up a little bit concept-wise, but it's actually quite neat. So you get a range of different sort of like classes that you fit into. I'm playing as an operator for my particular team, and that means I can build things such as an outpost, and this outpost will allow my team to get a newer spawn. Spawn point lets up closer, same with garrisons. These can get destroyed or removed as the wall kind of goes back and forth. So it's actually like a pretty neat, somewhat intense tactical shooter. You die really fast. It'll be like a bullet or so can kill you. And it's quite gripping, and it can be very tense at moments. At the same time, it features a lot of walking if things aren't going your way. And it has some issues to it as well. There are server problems where you'll get this like random T17 issue, and you'll basically have to exit the match. You can't rejoin with your friends. And it can be a little frustrating to deal with that. I've also noticed that periodically the game has like a really harsh stutter, where your game basically just freezes for a second. You just speak of the devil right there. And that could be a little annoying. It's not the biggest issue. Now I imagine over time these will probably get fixed, but you know, these are things that are kind of plaguing the experience for me to a degree, but for the most part it's actually kind of a cool game. And your experience is going to vary based on the amount of people that you kind of interact with and the quantity of players in your lobby. For some whatever reason, it seems like when you're in a group, it like puts you in these really small empty lobbies, which is so weird. But when you play by yourself, you seem to get really full lobbies, which I think is just like such a bizarre combo. It could have to do with the time of day, I don't know, but this is a pretty full match. So again, we got the outpost spawn. We can spawn there and we can get into the action. And as you can tell on the map, it's very like large maps. These are huge. You can flank, you can move around. It's really quite neat. Now this map isn't necessarily the best for showing off the back and forth sort of thing, but it gives you a look at the different visuals. And there's different types of places too. You know, we've got like a bit of a, you know, a treed sort of field area with a sort of like dampened type mood. But there's also like a snow map. There's one that's like a little bit more city focused. We are fighting in like, you know, these large-scale church environments. It's definitely got, you know, the atmosphere down. And like I said, different classes. So you can play as like a rifleman. You can do like a medic type thing. I'm trying to think that options. I guess there's like a redeploy menu. I guess I should show off the video settings. So it's just motion blurred. Nothing really past that you can change. And the game's got really complex discussion-based concepts just in regards to how the different tiers for how you talk to everyone is in the game. And I think that's kind of neat. And there's like an overall commander type role too, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's got, I think it's 14 playable roles as you battle around. There's also vehicles. You've been probably seeing a lot of, I guess you could say, infantry type things, where there are like trucks that drive around, you know, things like that. And I think that element of it's kind of neat. It's not just on foot, but it's also not heavily focused just on vehicle stuff. And I think you might find that to be intriguing if you're looking for another World War type shooter that is varied and kind of unique. Again, it's just another neat option that's present there, that we're getting all of these different choices for shooters right now. Like, it's actually a very busy sort of time just in regards to what we're able to do and the different games we're having. But yeah, it's kind of intense as you kind of move around. And like I said, it's not going to be for everyone. I find it at times to be very slow, borderline a little bit boring as well. But, you know, when you get those action moments where there's a lot going on, it could be really, really cool. And if there's lots of players, you do need to be smart. You need to chill out. Like, there was times where I was like, you know, we had rifles. We were sitting behind a tank, and there's like bullets whizzing by. And we're like, oh, what's going on? And then other times where we're like walking and you get shot once from somewhere and you're like, ah. And that's why I'm saying for this one, it's really not going to be for everyone. It's kind of intensive. Some of the respawns can be brutal in this game, seriously. And it seems to punish you if you die a lot in a row. It's like you get longer and longer respawns, and that can be an issue. So it's got Western front focus for World War II, and the two distinct modes, offensive and warfare. And the sides are broken down by different things: armor, infantry, and recon in regards to what sort of roles you play within different groups. And I think that's kind of neat, and it's just got really distinct gameplay mechanics in regards to the strategies of your team. If you've got a really good coordination and you guys are chatting and you're moving, you can have a really effective squad and team that can come together and battle for stuff. We're going the other way. And you feel the mortars too. The mortars can actually be kind of annoying. The controller's got quite a rumble. It's like vroom, vroom. And that could be a little tiring to deal with, but it's a neat concept. But yeah, I think they put together something that actually is kind of fun at times, and other times not really. And I just kind of wonder how this one's going to do long term. We looked at something like Insurgency Sandstorm, which just released. That one I could see, no matter what, having with its player base, it can get a niche following. This one really does require large-scale conflict, and I just kind of wonder about the long term, again, the longevity of it, based on how many people are actually required to get this going. Literally the sniper type rules, you need a spotter and a sniper, and it's just I could see it being very hard to keep people playing this one long term, and that in turn is probably going to impact its ability to keep players interested. Is this a friendly one? I'm trying to think if it's friendly or not. It's kind of funny. So you get unique locations like Omaha Beach, Carentan, Foy. That kind of keeps it fresh, like I mentioned, and I think it's kind of nice at times, just the visuals. It's not, super detailed, but, it's got a nice vibe that I think captures each of these distinct places. You might look up things a little closer and you're like, oh, this is not too insanely graphically impressive, but I think as a distance and scale-wise, these maps are actually quite well put together, and again, creative in terms of moving you around and having you actually battle against different people and causing things to freak out. As you can tell with the mortar strikes going on right now, the controller is shaking crazily, and that makes things action packed, and like I said, you can die really quick. One bullet, two bullets, something like that, you just fall down, and you gotta be smart about your tactics. And there is also a bit of a UI, so if you hold right on, I gotta respawn first and then we can do this. If you hold right on the D-pad, it kind of has this pop-up that can tell you what's going on, and I think that's kind of helpful. And I really love the tide of war concept, where you're being, you're going back and forth, because that can be really swift. So this one isn't necessarily the best example of that, just because of the map that this is. Oh, come on, now we lost all that stuff. So these other ones, you see these positions on the map, you see these different ones, and you are kind of going back and forth. They are taking your position, you're taking theirs. You might be playing defense, you might be playing offense, and that's really neat, because you could be taking their position and take it faster than they take yours, and then they're way out of the distance, and that creates a lot of issues for them trying to get back and take that position. And that's where it's got that momentum game, kind of if you've ever played War from say the Call of Duty franchise, the original version of War, where you're using the momentum to go back and forth to take these positions. And I think that's really quite neat. And you can join these different groups too. So this is the UI I was talking about. You hold the right on the D-pad and it pops up, and it just tells you the positions and stuff that you're taking or defending. And then you got the different companies, so it's we're in Love Company right now. Company Love. Great company to be in. But you can make your own, you can have your friends play with you, and I think that's kind of nice. And it's just really easy to kind of get together and battle and face off against, these other teams. And that's where I'm it can be cool. And at other times, it could be really boring, because like I said, it's just you gotta walk. And walk and walk and walk. And I think, for some people, they're gonna be oh, the walking is just, it's too much in this game. And that's totally fair. And others are going to be like, oh wow, I love the tactical feel of it. I love, you know, you just got to set up garrisons and stuff. And it's just like, you know, they can get easily destroyed. If the front line moves, you know, all your stuff's rendered useless and you have to walk really far. And that's just something to keep in mind. It's just like the journey to get to the action can be a little frustrating. And I think some people are going to not have the patience for it, because this is not like Call of Duty, it's not like Battlefield. I would say it's more similar to Battlefield, but it takes Battlefield and puts a much more tactical, quick death spin on it, which I actually appreciate, because I like, you know, the odd tactical shooter. I think this has a place in the market. I think it's really nice that we get these different choices, and I think they've done some fun stuff with this. But I also do appreciate that this game will not be for everyone. There's going to be many people that are like, oh, I don't like the journey to get things. I don't like that you die so fast. I mean, you even see me. Sometimes I'm shooting a couple people, and sometimes I'm just walking and then dying. And that's kind of the game, and that's kind of war as well. And like I said, it's not like those other shooters. It's very different. I'd say it's more like Insurgency, but Insurgency style, but in like, you know, an open world type of scenario that's similar, akin to, well, you know, the Battlefield franchise. And that's kind of cool. I would like some more intensive, like, tactical things. It is neat, though, that there is, like, you know, kind of the leaning. It's a little bit harder to do that. But I do like that this game does have a leaning system. That's a nice option to have available. I'm just talking a bit about the mechanics, too, so you kind of get things. And then you get a range of cool tools as well. And, you know, different classes can do different things, like I've mentioned. You know, get like a shovel. So you might actually build some stuff, too, depending on if you're, like, the class that supports it. You might be a rifleman, you might be a sniper. You really get to kind of, well, assuming they're available, you pick and choose what you want to do and what role you want to fill. And I think that actually adds a layering to the complexity of the combat. You're not just making whatever kind of class you want, you're actually performing a function within a team. And I think that can be kind of cool as well. Oh, and this like, cool blood splatter goes across your screen. Kind of nice if you attack an old, like a dead body and whatnot. A little creepy to do, but you know, kind of a fun little thing. They've just got lots of little nice technical details to this one, little surprises. Why can't I? Oh, only recon place in enemy territory. I didn't realize we're actually over the line here. We're like pushing them back. But also, like, the other maps would be a better example, because again, they are a lot more back and forth. Whereas this one is we are holding. The other time we are actually, like, you know, kind of pushing and they're pushing, and I think that's much more dynamic. But it gives off a good look at one of the maps, just so you can see the sheer scale of this. Like, it's crazy. And there's so many people playing. And I think that's kind of cool. The magic of it is having all these players interacting and battling, and the tension that's present as you try to survive and move through the environment. I think that's really cool. I did notice that when you are moving, there are like little bits of like pop in here or there, kind of like shadow focused or little tree bits, but for the most part, like the whole world, for being this open, seems to render very well. I wouldn't say there's really any performance type issues aside from, like, you know, those weird stutters, and I think that's hopefully something they can actually fix in the future. I'd like that to be you know, something they look at. I think that could be really good, and that could clean up the experience. So it's small issues here or there, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's rough again for the server thing, where you say these matches are long, like these are like, you get like hour-long matches. It's ridiculous. Let me see if I can pop that up there. Oh, we've only got like a minute left, so we're gonna show off another map. That's really cool. But you know, these maps can take like, you know, at least half an hour or even longer to play, and it can be like a really long journey, and then getting a disconnect after battling for that long really can be a frustrating experience that kind of takes away things for you, at least in my opinion. And then the stutters can be a little bit annoying, and it's just like little smaller things here or there. But assuming they get this polished up fully, I think they've got something that you can sit here and you can play like almost endlessly and feel really engaged with the amount of content that's available. It's not necessarily a perfect experience, it's not a perfect shooter, but it's a fun one and it's a different one, and I think it offers some good challenge and some good ways to fight off other people, and I think you can have fun with it in that regard. And I think you can find it kind of to be engaging and unique, and A victory is a good thing for us, so now that means we can switch over and show off another match. It's just really neat to be, letting hell loose and whatnot. But yeah, continuing on, we're on a different, perspective and whatnot, and obviously we're on a different faction, so we have different weapons. I think this is something where you are getting a little bit more of a focused, historical type of shooter, which is nice. Wow, I can't believe I died right off the bat there. Didn't realize we were that close to the front line. But yeah, it is technical, it is attempting to be authentic, it is focused. It's not like the other games where it's got something, other modern shooters where it's a bit sillier. They actually do try to have something that is more technically focused on that era and being historic in regards to the uniforms and the weapons and the tools, particularly for whatever faction you're on. You do unlock some different options in regards to, changing your character slightly, changing your weapons slightly. And again, your weapons largely are driven through the choices you make in regards to what class you are wanting to play. It balances these moments of intensity, calmness, and kind of excitement as you're not sure what exactly is going to happen. Do you need to play it slow? Do you need to go fast? You got to really be, kind of tactical about it. And I think the more players you have, the more it is actually focused on having you be a little bit smarter, giving you those moments of insane tension. But then again, other moments, a little bit quieter of a match, you're going to be walking around a lot wondering, where is everybody? What's happening? Because these maps can feel almost too large, if that makes sense, almost too expansive. And I can see the level of frustration growing as somebody goes, I have to walk forever, or, we're not getting command posts, or things aren't going well, or I just have to keep going and walking and not finding anyone. So it's like this balance that I think, you kind of have to sit there and decide is if it's something for you or if it's not something for you. It's just nice that we have this choice, though, to have, a game that is big like this and also very tactical. Like grenade actually would have killed that guy if I would have waited, but anyways. And it's not like throwing up details about you killing anyone or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It's more like actual war where, you can think you've killed somebody, but you gotta actually check, and you gotta be smart about it. And any bullet can just be like the end of you. You get bandages, you might get lucky and you might bandage yourself up. There is also like a friendly fire aspect of it as well, so you do need to be smart in what you're doing. You don't want to cause too many issues for your teammates and your allies as you're out there battling along. And it's just kind of cool. Like, look at all the commotion on this particular front that we're kind of dealing with compared to like other areas. And people can go off in any direction. You don't know where they're heading, you don't know where they're flanking, and it's completely open. It's not like other games where you have these lines of sight or these lanes that you are sent down. Like a Call of Duty game, you can get kind of creative, but you're limited. In this game, it's fully open. You don't know if a rush across the field is going to be something that just instantly kills you, or is something that basically wins the day for your team as you reach new grounds. And you gotta, find that balance. Oh, you can drown in the water too, which is kind of funny. So you gotta be careful about that if you don't want to die incidentally out there. So it's just got this weird balance of being fun, but also having an issue here or there. But I think they've actually put together something that I can from time to time play. And I think the biggest limiting factor, like I mentioned for this one, is going to be the player lobbies. If they're able to keep the attention of people in order to, keep it fueled up to these higher player counts. Because it's just not fun with lesser quantities. It's not a game that can really thrive off of a lower player count. I just don't think that, this game can really handle that. It just becomes non-enjoyable if you shrink too much. Oh, a turn back option. That's interesting. And it's not like we necessarily have anything to fill in the gaps, right? Like you need the players in this one. So I am very curious about the long-term potential of this. But I think for now, facing off and battling in this scenario, it could be fun. It could be cool. You can have surprising moments, action-packed moments, and other times where you're just wandering around, not knowing exactly what's going on, and trying to survive the strikes, the foes, and having to wait a lot to respawn and walk around. That is highly a complaint of mine is just like to get to the action is cool, but to get to the action sometimes the frustration levels involved are just crazy, and that becomes worse and worse with more players you have. And if you matchmake solo, it seems like it gives you full lobbies. If you matchmake with others, it seems like that causes issues, and that is hell let loose. Whereas sometimes hell is being let loose, and other times hell is very calm and quiet, which is kind of funny.